Saddle up your horses.
Pitter patter. Let's get at her. It is another episode of the Manely Broncos Podcast, and we are finally here. It is NFL Draft Eve. We are finally there. No more rumors, no more speculation, at least for now. You know, until we probably get to tomorrow and we are not on stream and we start scrambling on our phones, typing up player X is going to go to this team or he's going to go to the Denver Broncos. But we are finally here. And it is exciting because for the first time in what feels like forever, the Denver Broncos, gentlemen, don't have to pick a quarterback in this class. How great is that? And so because of that, we have no idea in the direction of this football team going forward.
I'll tell you one thing that is just a byproduct of that. All those crazy reports coming out when we're 24 hours away from the draft, saying things like Tyler Shock is going to go in the first round. Did you guys see that? It's great to hear that stuff now when we have zero interest in a quarterback because it's just perfect. I want all of the not first round quarterbacks to go in the first round because that just pushes more talent down. So I'll take it. That'd be fantastic.
Yep. Reminder to everybody, make sure you hit that subscribe button over there on YouTube. And make sure you follow everybody that is on the stream here today. Matty Mulls over here in the top right. Make sure you follow him at Matty Mulls Pod. Follow Brandon at Brandon Miller PO, and follow Jordan, of course, over there in the top and the bottom right at Jordan T. Lopez. We are going to be doing for anybody that is going to be entering in here and typing into the comments. It is going to be the team's version of this first round mock draft where we are going to be picking based on what we think is going to happen. Not what we would want to have happen, but what we think is going to have happen. So whoever controls the Broncos pick, which happens to be Matty and I, good luck. We have no idea who the Broncos are picking. But nonetheless, team 1 and team 2. Team 2 will be constructed of Brandon and Jordan, and they will be picking the teams of the North and South divisions. So the AFC North, AFC South, and NFC North and NFC South. And then Maddie and I will be picking of the West and East variety. So AFC East, AFC West, NFC East, NFC West. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I have that Colson Loveland no matter what sticker somewhere in this area in my draft war room.
Is that your guy?
No.
I was gonna say
I just had to make a draft day quote.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a lot of fun, and let's dive right in, shall we, gentlemen?
Let's go. Let's do this.
All right. So to play the role of Roger Goodell, and if I get any boos in the chat, I completely understand.
Where's your big oversized chair?
Right. All right. The 2025 NFL Draft is officially open.
Boo!
The Tennessee Titans are on the clock, which seems like they've been on the clock for a while, and it seems like their decision has been made for quite a while. Brandon and Jordan.
Yeah, this is going to be. There you go. My GM partner is just a hat now. Yeah, so I mean, this is the most obvious pick in this draft, which normally is the case for, number 1 overall. But this is a weird draft. Like, I feel like beyond the top, you get out of the top like 4 and it starts to get weird, but we're in the obvious round of the 2025 NFL draft right now. It's Cam Ward. I mean, it's obviously Cam Ward.
So the pick is in.
Jordan, I don't know if you have anything else to talk about here, but obviously the Titans need a quarterback. Cam Ward is, I mean, by far the best one in this class.
So the pick is in, is what you're saying.
That's the pick, but I will allow Jordan to speak.
As I love that draft music sound. I mean, yeah, the guy from UM is obviously the best one. I mean, what are we talking about here? This is my guy right here.
So, Cam Ward from the U, the guy who deservedly did not win the Heisman Trophy.
What's wrong with
goes number 1 overall. Now, that leaves the Cleveland Browns on the clock, and you guys are back up on the clock. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of discussion about where this team is going to go. Do they actually, in fact, go quarterback? Do they decide to go with a positionless player, or do they go with a position player? What says Team Brandon and Team Jordan?
Well, I do think the Browns stay at number 2. Despite the recent reports of the Jaguars can possibly be trading up to 2 to get Travis Hunter, and the Browns may be trading back. And there's been a whole bunch of rumblings. I think the Browns stay at this position, and I think they get the unicorn, as they say in the draft here.
How are we feeling about that, Brandon?
Yeah, that's the more time has passed, the more obvious to me that it's going to be Travis Hunter. I don't think they're going to be in the quarterback market. I mean, this was a popular spot for Shedeur, the other Colorado player, obviously, that was throwing the ball to Travis Hunter some of the time when he wasn't, shadowing the best wide receiver on the opposing team. But no, it's obviously Travis Hunter. I mean, he's going to be, if anyone is going to find a way to play both wide receiver and cornerback,
it would be Travis.
It's probably going to be Travis Hunter.
So the pick is in?
I'm going to be interested to see, like, do they use him? Where do they use him? But yeah, I mean, it's definitely Travis.
All right. So the pick is in.
Travis Hunter, get ready to learn Cleveland, buddy.
Yeah, I gotta say, I think the fan in me, just the Travis Hunter fan in me is annoyed by it. Like, I want him to go to like the Giants or something, not like the Browns or something. Like, and it's just a fan of me because I just cannot see him rotting in Cleveland as they're waiting, for their quarterback situation to figure out. But nonetheless, he is a phenomenal player, and as you guys said, if there is a player who could do both and succeed at both at a very high level, it would be Travis Hunter. All right, Matty, and that leaves us on the clock, and we are going to be playing the guy, the general manager whose job is literally on the line, whose son apparently was so smart enough and so smarter than him that he wanted Jaden Daniels in this last class. Unfortunately, it didn't exactly work out that way. So let's see if we can be a little bit better than what transpired last year. I think we have an idea where the thing's going to be going, Matty. But what says you here as the Giants are on the clock?
They are trying like hell to trade this pick. They want so desperately for someone to move up and give them the farm to get Abdul Carter. I don't know that anybody is going to do it. They say there's only really a handful of guys in this class that you would make a big move up for. 2 of those guys are already gone. You have Carter and potentially Ashton Genty, who will go pretty soon. Maybe a Tyler Warren, but certainly not warranted at 3. Yeah, it's Carter. Is there a trade partner? We're looking at teams like Carolina. We're looking at teams like maybe the Colts do something big to shake it up.
Been
Maybe
some
the
talk about
Falcons?
Jacksonville.
I'm sorry, you broke up there. What did you say?
There's been some stuff about Jacksonville.
Maybe they're sitting pretty good at 5, but this should be your call. They either go Carter or they do a trade.
I think I think they stay at 3. I kind of have this feeling and firm that they stay at 3. I think all this trade noise was just to kind of drive up price, and I think they stay at 3.
And take Carter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Picks in.
So the pick is in. The New York Giants will take Abdul Carter, arguably next to Travis Hunter, the best player in this entire draft. And now that puts the New England Patriots on the clock. Now, there's been a lot kind of made here about maybe the early run, Matty, as far as, is this the area where Ashton Genty starts, the run of Ashton Genty, pun intended, starts? Is it beginning with 4? I don't think so. I want to hear your thoughts, but it seems like this thing is trending in the direction of trenches. And it seems like it's the idea that they're going to be deciding between Armand Membu and Will Campbell. And there's a current trend of where this is going between both of them.
Yeah, I think it's Will Campbell here. I think Membu obviously is going to go pretty high here. He'll probably be the next offensive lineman off the board. But Will Campbell, it's just like the worst kept secret that he's basically inked in at 4. If anybody wants him, they're going to have to jump up to 3 to get him at this point.
You're going to hear us say this type of phraseology a lot here tonight, but he kind of screams like Vrabel pick too, because like Vrabel always he loves that versatility. He loves those types of players that can play.
He loves short arms.
Well, he just loves players that can be either guard, tackle, or left tackle, right tackle. So even if he went Membu, it wouldn't be all that surprising because Membu can play left tackle or right tackle. It seems like he loves that kind of versatility. And I just say in general, it seems like a lot of offensive coaches love versatile linemen. So, but I think the pick is in. And Matty, once you announce the pick.
With the 4th pick, the New England Patriots select Will Campbell, tackle LSU.
Will Campbell is off the board. And now that leaves the Jacksonville Jaguars, where a lot of people, Brandon and Jordan, they feel like now this is where the run of Ashton Genty begins as of late. Because if you've been monitoring the stuff that's been happening in the last 12 to 24 hours, there's been a lot of steam of Ashton Genty to the Jaguars. And honestly, I don't want to put too much on your guys' plate, but it sounds like it's actually merited at this point.
I would to agree with that, especially looking at Peter Schrager's mock, which he has been historically the best mock drafter out of all the people that have done it. And then also looking at other ones like Daniel Jeremiah, I have a problem with Jeremiah's later on in the first round, but with him and all the others I saw, they are starting to pencil in Ashton Genty at 5. And the more I think about it, it is a Jacksonville Jaguars type of move, just because I feel like they can go a different route and just improve their team more. But I think at the end they do go Ashton Genty. That is just my opinion. I would love to hear Brandon's thoughts, but I do think Genty might be the pick here.
Yeah, Genty was going to be my pick as well for them. And I mean, obviously that's kind of where the smoke is currently, but just in general, if you look at the state of the roster for the Jags, they desperately need some kind of additional firepower on offense to keep the train rolling. I mean, obviously Brian Thomas Jr. last year was a sensational rookie wide receiver for them, but even though they have a current first round invested running back in Travis Etienne, who's kind of been, he's not been bad, but he's been a little off and on for them lately, and you have the ability to draft a generational running back like Genty, especially with Liam Cohen coming over as their new head coach from the Bucks, and what he was able to do with the Buccaneers offense, specifically on the in the running game last year. I just think that they're going to want that infusion of talent and explosiveness on offense, so I definitely think it's probably going to be Genty. Bonus here is the Raiders don't get to pick him, so
it is definitely a bonus. All right, so Matty, obviously you can't force the pick, obviously for the Jaguars, but I want you to give your spiel, your 2-second spiel for a player that you feel that the Jacksonville Jaguars might actually go here, and it's not Ashton Genty.
Tyler Warren, offensive weapon. They can use him everywhere.
I agree.
2 seconds.
I agree.
Yeah.
But that's
all right, so the pick is in.
With the 5th pick, the Jaguars select Ashton Genty.
Two things regarding that, and probably why the Raiders were starting to get a bit of some cold feet regarding Ashton Genty. It means Genty was either going to be going later, or they just never kind of wanted him to begin with, and there were some other players above him that they just fell in love with, and it's also probably one of the reasons why the Bears, are kind of sweating a little bit. And maybe to this credit, it's a reason why there's a certain running back, if we get to later, might be off the board once their pick rolls around, if they're going to be that desperate for that position. So Ashton Genty is off the board, and that leaves the Las Vegas Raiders on the clock. And Matty, this was a famous Genty pick for quite some time. But now, as of the last maybe give or take week or so, things have steadily been pushing in a completely different direction. Armand Membu is one. Mason Graham is certainly another here. But I want to throw out a name for you that I think is maybe flying under the radar a little bit, that would kind of fit Pete Carroll's style, and that'd be Jalen Walker.
That is interesting. So you think they go more outside than directly inside?
I wonder, because I do wonder if Colton Miller is going to get paid, but also, it is the Raiders, and there's just a lot that they need to.
Yeah.
I
think it's one of 3 players. It's Mason Graham, it's T-Mac, or it's Membu here.
Okay.
Walker is interesting. I don't necessarily want to discard that per se, but I feel like they would go more inside than outside with that pick if they go defense. Your call. I made the last call.
So you're saying I'll make the call on this one?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go with my instincts on this one, and I am going to say that the pick will be Jalen Walker.
Ooh, Jack. Sorry, bud.
Wow.
Yeah. So the pick is in.
Damn.
Interesting. That throws in a wrinkle.
It does.
And actually, there's 2 places as of late that have been really popular for Jalen Walker, and that is the Carolina Panthers or the Raiders as of late.
I was going to consider him at 8. The Panthers desperately need edge help, and he's definitely the top. If you play him at edge, he's definitely the top guy available. So that throws a wrinkle in the plans of the Panthers for sure.
Me and Brandon were thinking alike because that was my guy too.
Yeah. We gotta pivot.
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 I do have another guy though. So
I have some other guys. There's a couple of other interesting options.
Now, this puts the New York Jets on the clock, where we play the role of former Bronco Darren Moogie. Matty, now you had your spiel for this particular player for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I have a feeling this slide's actually going to end now.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly been a lot of smoke. I don't hate it for them. An offense that's devoid of a lot of talent in spots, but they need a lot of help.
It's another Membu spot, by the way.
McMillan makes sense there. Mason Graham makes sense there. Membu, and then obviously Tyler Warren. So I'll again defer to you. One of those four. Who are you going with? I'm not going Sanders here, by the way. Like, he's way down there for me.
No, I think it's between Membu and Tyler Warren. I think it's between those two. And I don't think they can go wrong with either one. And I do know that they've invested a little bit in that offensive line. But I don't know. I can't seem to get the schematic fit of what they would love to do with Justin Fields, and you add in Tyler Warren to that mix. I actually like that fit with him. So I think the pick is in for the Jets.
Yep. With the 7th pick, the Jets select Tyler Warren, tight end, Penn State.
I definitely think that's fairly likely to happen. I mean, Tyler Warren could end up going higher even.
He could even slide too, because
I don't know if he's going to slide much further. I think this is probably the one of the highest spots he would go, but I don't see him getting past the Colts. Personally, but it's interesting. I kind of looking at this, I've been thinking about why this draft just seems so weird, and I think it's because there's not a lot of true blue chip prospects in this draft. I mean, there's really two. It's Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter are kind of the main two,
maybe
and then
Genty.
Maybe Genty. I would say Genty, if you can consider a running back a blue chip prospect, not a blue chip position, but Genty is so good he could just kind of force his way in there. And then beyond that, it's kind of there's some guys, there's some good guys for sure, but there's just not. It's not very top heavy. So Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland both being as highly rated as they are, even though they are very good tight ends, I wonder if part of that is just because there's not that many super elite players in this draft, and that pushes them up. But I think the Jets taking him there is pretty realistic.
And to your point, I think it's also probably a lot of it is maybe not so much to the blue chip idea. It's just, I don't know how you guys feel about it. It's just so unpredictable. It is just so. It's one of the few drafts this in the last handful of years where it is just so unpredictable, and to where it could go a lot of different directions. And we don't necessarily mean that from the Broncos side of things, but just in general, it can go a lot of different directions. All right. So that puts the Carolina Panthers, who may or may not need to pivot, based on what it seems like, is on the board here. That might be screaming at him.
All right, Jordan, what are you thinking? What are we thinking here? I was going to go with Jalen Walker. That was going to be my pick for the Panthers at 8. That is obviously not available. They desperately need defensive help. They gave up the most points in the NFL in NFL history, even as well last season. So that could be a direction that they go. They also need some additional weapons for Bryce Young, who sort of started the little bit of the comeback tour, and maybe they want to keep that going and give him some help. The only thing there is like they did just invest Xavier, a first-time pick in Xavier Legette last year, who's looked kind of okay. Jalen Coker looks better than him though right now.
He's sneaky. I do love Jalen Coker.
I like him. I think he's good, but I think they could still use another weapon there for Bryce Young. So I'm kind of torn. I'm curious what my co-GM Jordan has to say about this one.
So I'm stuck between two defenders.
Yeah.
Here. They did try to go after the defensive tackle from the Eagles. What's his name? Milton Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Milton Williams, yeah.
So I am looking more at defensive tackle here. I am looking at either Mason Graham or Walter Nolan. And Walter Nolan has been screaming up draft boards. And Matt Miller also mocked him to go to the Panthers. And ironically enough, PFF's player comp to Walter Nolan is Milton Williams.
It is.
Walter Nolan's an interesting one. I've been rising on him personally, like to the point where I actually would sort of like it if the Broncos took him at 20, but I don't know if he's going to get there. He has some. What's up?
Not in the top 10 if he is.
No, I mean he might not be available. But no, Walter Nolan just is a very, very explosive interior rusher. He's not consistent is the only issue. I actually saw a comp for him, which was a little bit interesting to read as a Broncos fan, which was John Franklin Myers, actually. More of like a pass rusher on the inside. But I love Walter Nolan. I think he'd be a good fit in a lot of places. Panthers definitely would be an option. I also considered, like, this is maybe a little high if you consider this kind of player a luxury pick. But Jahdae Barron, I think, is easily a top 10 talent in this draft class, and he's kind of more your Swiss Army knife defensive back. They have JC Horn and almost no one else. And JC Horn has some injury history as well there. They signed Trevon Moehrig from the Raiders in the offseason, but they desperately need help in the secondary too. And Jahdae Barron could kind of give them that. Just be your lockdown nickel, or use him however you want, however you see fit in that defense, and he can definitely make an impact for you. He's going to be kind of, I think he's the Brian Branch player in this class that fell to the Lions and then just immediately just broke out. So it'll be interesting. I mean, former Broncos defensive coordinator Zero Evero, who's currently the defensive coordinator for the Panthers, could have some fun with him. So I'm stuck between those two guys. I do think Walter Nolan would be an interesting one. They definitely need pass rush help, and he's more on the interior, but they need help on the defensive line. The only thing that is a little interesting is, like, they already have Derek Brown, but I mean, if you kind of double up there, Derek Brown and Walter Nolan, like, that's going to be a ferocious interior in the trenches on the defensive side. So, Jordan, you're going to go with Walter Nolan. That's your.
I think our common ground with this one is Walter Nolan between us two.
Yeah. All right. I'm okay with it.
All right. The pick.
Ring that bell. I wish we had to pick the Carolina Panthers select Walter Nolan.
Yeah, he is. I mean, even with Pro Football Focus, like, he is risen boards fast. And that puts the New Orleans Saints on the clock. And if people have been following at all, things that have been happening down there in the Bayou, it seems like they're not going to go Shedeur Sanders. And it seems like them taking a quarterback for the first time since 1971, since Archie Manning, that is still going to end up being not broken at all, because it seems like there's some other thoughts and some other ideas of where they might go. So I don't. Well, what are we feeling here, GMs Jordan and Brandon?
Well, for me, just real quick, I mean, I've seen in 3 mock drafts, Traeger, Jeremiah, and Matt Miller, probably the 3 that I trust the most. All 3 of them have Michael Williams going to the Saints. I don't know if that's like one of the worst kept secrets in the league right now, because everybody knows they're not going to go quarterback. And all 3 of them have them there.
They do need offensive line help pretty desperately.
Yeah, they do need offensive tackle help, and it is also interesting that it was also mentioned by one of them that Membu is also in play here if he's available. So I think you do those 2.
Yep. So what's the decision going to be, gents?
The Michael Williams thing is interesting to me. Like
if I were the Saints, I wouldn't do it.
I don't think he's a top 10 player. And sure, could the Saints be looking to get more edge help? Absolutely. But I think they need help in a lot of other places that is not on the edge. And they desperately need tackle help. I don't know if they're going to try to keep Derek Carr around, but obviously he has some current health issues right now. If they are planning on keeping him around with that $150 million contract they paid him, that tells me that they would think that he's at least somewhat in their future. And then, they drafted a quarterback last year, but you never know. I think if they are concerned at all about Carr's health, and even if they're going to go with, who's the quarterback they drafted last year? I'm totally forgetting his name.
Spencer Rattler.
Spencer Rattler. Even if they go with Spencer Rattler instead, this just tells me that they're probably wanting to protect their quarterback, seeing what happened with Carr and that investment they made in him. And if it's going to be Rattler, give him the ability to stay upright. They have some weapons for him already to pass to, but they need him to get some additional protection. So I would probably go Membu. I have 0 sources in this league, and people that are way more connected than me all say Michael Williams, but I just don't think he's a good enough player to go here, to be honest with you. And I don't think they need an edge rusher that much as they need offensive line help.
So the pick is in?
I'm going to
say Membu, unless Jordan is completely against it.
No, I'm in agreement with Brandon. I don't think he's a top 10 talent. It's just I find it very interesting that everybody has Michael Williams to the Saints, because I don't see him as a top 10 player either. Yeah, and that was the one that I wanted to mention earlier. They just declined Penning's 5th-year option, so
and accepted Olave's. So
Penning has been bad.
Yeah.
What and not to mention Ramczyk retired.
Yep.
Makes
So
sense.
They just need talented guys on rookie contracts on that building, because
versus spending money. If you're listening, Mickey Loomis,
they are
Your call, Brandon.
playing footsie with the cap.
pick in.
All right, I'm going to go Membu. We're taking Membu. With the 9th pick, the New Orleans Saints select Armand Membu.
I do think more and more and more as things progress, the Saints are not going to be going quarterback, and they're going to be going a completely different direction than that, in the sense of they'll go tackle, they'll go, they could even go corner. I think corner, is certainly one, because they need corner help like crazy.
Traded Lattimore last year to the Commanders. So
Adebo, they lost Adebo to the Giants, right? So they obviously need corner help too. So all right, and that puts the Chicago Bears on the clock, and
I'm sitting here. So Jordan and I are picking this pick too. Sorry to cut you off, Cam. I'm sitting here and I'm like, damn it, Armand Membu just could have maybe fallen to us, but we got sniped. They just spent an insane amount of money on the interior of their offensive line, and I can't help but think that they probably would want to get a tackle to go along with that as well, to kind of bolster that. But obviously that's probably not the direction they're going to go here. This is another place where I think you could see, we all think Ashton Genty is going to go a lot higher than this, but he could absolutely slide a little bit. You never know. Things happen. And I think the Bears would be another spot where he could go. But obviously that's not the case here. Jordan, what are you thinking?
Yeah, Jordan, I was going to ask you because, in the mock drafts that you and I've done, this has been a really popular starting point for a player who's rather popular in Denver mock draft circles right now.
Yeah, I was for sure thinking about Amari Hampton for number 10 just because Ben Johnson, and he likes the dual stable of running backs. But again, after hearing one of these mock drafters talk, and I do take their word for granted because they are the most accurate, the Bears have Colston Loveland as or as I should say, sources say that the Bears have Colston Loveland as the top tight end in their draft board. So, if Colston Loveland, I do think he would be there at 10 for the Bears, unless the Colts, because the Colts also really want Loveland, unless the Colts trade up and get Loveland, this might be a popular pick for Colston Loveland to go.
But wouldn't you want to go Mason Graham?
You would think. Again, if this was me and I was the GM of the Bears, I would for sure go Mason Graham or an offensive tackle. But I can't see Colston Loveland being Ben Johnson, Sam Laporta in Chicago.
Because also, I'm looking at this here, and T-Mac is still there.
T-Mac is still there. I don't think he goes to Chicago, though.
No, they just spent that top first-round pick in Rome Odunze last year, but I do think that trying to load up on additional weapons for sophomore Caleb Williams, they're going to do something to help Caleb Williams, whether that's take an offensive lineman, take an offensive weapon. Like, that's likely the pick here.
What do you do
absolutely. What's that?
What do you do with Cole Kmet then?
I mean,
12 personnel, baby.
Cole Kmet or Colston Loveland. Cole Kmet is the odd man out in that scenario. I'm not saying you cut him from the team, but I think Colston Loveland just gives you fairly immediate upgrade.
Ben Johnson.
I mean, absolutely. You could use two tight ends on the field at the same time. There's a lot of different ways you can use multiple tight ends. They took him in the second round 5 years ago. That doesn't mean that
Sam Laporta,
he has to continue to be their starter if they have the ability to upgrade and get a true difference maker like Colston Loveland is, and especially, again, Ben Johnson coming over from Detroit with Sam Laporta and what he's done. Yeah. I definitely am in on taking Colston Loveland here. Jordan, I picked the last one, so I'll let you take this one, but I'm fully in on Colston Loveland as well. If you
and the pick is in
wanted to go with that.
The Chicago Bears and Ben Johnson get their version of Sam Laporta, and they take Colston Loveland.
You just did that because you didn't want the Broncos to trade up for Colston Loveland. I get it.
I mean, that wasn't the back of my mind, but that wasn't the reason why.
All right, Matty. The NFC East and the San Francisco 49ers are on the clock.
NFC West?
NFC West, yes. The NFC West, San Francisco 49ers are on the clock. There is two particular players here that just scream 49ers for me. And that is Jahdae Barron and Jihad Campbell. That said, though, this is a very sneaky. I wouldn't even say sneaky. This is a team that really could use an offensive lineman of the future post Trent Williams, right? So I'm kind of looking at three players here, unless you have someone else. But yeah, so I'm looking at maybe Kelvin Banks. I'm looking at Jahdae Barron, and I'm looking at Jihad Campbell. Obviously, Jihad Campbell would end up replacing Dre Greenlaw. But I also actually want to throw something out to you that would be a bit of a shocker to people, but also one that would also replace another player who went to Denver. Malachi Starks or Nick Emenwari with San Francisco?
I think San Francisco is a ripe position to trade back. If somebody wants to move up to get Mason Graham, who slid down the board a little bit, or Tet McMillan.
Could even go Graham too.
This is a spot for them to move down. They have a relationship with Denver already.
I also think Mason Graham's the kind of player they wouldn't pass up either.
But yeah, I think if they stick, I think it's got to be Mason Graham here.
The one thing I will say, and just in regards to the trade down option, this is a fairly good defensive line class, and they only have 4 picks in this entire draft. So I do see that the temptation is there for them to try to get more by trading back. And they have quite a lot of guys that they just lost on that defense that they can maybe replenish the cupboard a little bit in this draft with some additional picks. All 4 of their current picks are all top 100, so they can get some guys. But I would like to think that they would want more darts to throw here. So I do see this as being a potential trade. I don't think there's going to be much trading up, to be honest. Like the players that are worth trading up for in this draft have already gone. Like there's only a few of them. So I also could see them absolutely taking a defensive lineman that's just like a 49ers pick. Walter Nolan would probably go here
or Mason Graham
is still available. Mason Graham is another one. I've heard some people talk about him falling more though. I don't really know why.
Depends on.
But I've heard like multiple people talk about for some reason he's going to fall a little bit.
Depends on their definition of falling, because I think when he gets to 11, that's somewhat falling.
Yeah, I mean, even that to me is still like lower than where you saw him going. Like he was a top 5 pick for a very long time. But I don't know what changed.
As recently as last week.
Yeah.
Or riding him in
pretty quick.
Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know exactly what would happen there, but I do think them taking a defensive lineman is just such a 49ers pick. So I mean, I know I'm not picking it, but I think that could happen.
I think the pick is in, Matty. I don't, because it's just even with the small capital, it's really hard for them to pass on a situation like this where a player kind of fell to them. Who is one of the top 10 players of the this class.
Their mantra is like the Eagles, and where they just use first round capital on defensive linemen, rotate it through DeForest Buckner. Then they brought in Kinlaw. Like this is just another one in a long line. So pick is in.
All right.
With the 11th pick, the San Francisco 49ers of the NFC West select Mason Graham, interior defensive lineman, Michigan.
I wasn't even paying attention to Mason Graham. If there was one where it was like a player that fell to them that screams 49er, it would be Mason Graham. But yeah, Jahad Campbell, Jahdae Barron, those are really the 2 players that really kind of stand out to me that really scream 49er to a T. That puts the Dallas Cowboys on the clock. And a lot has been made here of which way they want to go. And actually, if this particular way of the board falls, they actually should not pass this opportunity up, because they have the opportunity to take the best playmaker possibly on the board and a player who can actually complement their current wide receiver of CeeDee Lamb quite well. So, Matty, I feel like in being in Jerry's world, this is not a hard one to pass up here.
I mean, they have a couple of options just to walk it through. Ted McMillan, or they could take the guy from Texas and Matthew Golden, who's everybody's golden child right now, shooting up boards. Both of those guys are in play. Mike Green also. I think this is a spot where people need to consider him. I'm not saying use it as leverage against Parsons, but you never know.
Yeah. And
it doesn't hurt to have multiple pass rushers. So I think it makes a lot of sense to consider him. And then also, they could go offensive lineman here. This could be a spot for Zabel to get.
And very early, yeah.
Maybe it's a smidge early, maybe not. Versatility you mentioned earlier. So all of those are the thing. I'll defer to you here, though.
It's just it's hard to kind of pass this up here. So I think the pick is in. With the 12th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys finally get their playmaker around CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott in T-Mac from Arizona.
I hate it because I kind of want him in Denver, but it makes a lot of sense.
God, he's so good, man. The people
He's
hate
a Cortland Sutton replacement.
the
Literally
people-
perfect.
Oh my God, the people hating on him. I'm like, he's our next like Brandon Marshall. Get him the ball. He just makes stuff happen.
I do subtly wonder when Jeremy Fowler came out with a report that said he's Michael Thomas esque. Man, it makes me wonder if that was Sean Payton that kind of leaked it and was like, yeah, this guy actually reminds me of Michael Thomas.
It kind of does.
And so, all right. So that puts the Miami Dolphins, the team that is so near and dear to Jordan's heart, down there in Florida, a team that is his second favorite team. So Jordan, I'm going to defer to you. What is your favorite team the Miami Dolphins going to do here? Do they do the unthinkable and bring toxicity into this NFL draft class and draft Shedeur Sanders? Or do they replace Teron Armstead? Or are they going a completely other direction, which is one that I actually had not had on my radar screen, which was they need to replace Javon Holland.
Or they might have to replace also Jalen Ramsey because that organization is falling apart because they stink. The Dolphins here, though, the talk here in Miami is they need beef wherever they can get it. If they can get on the defensive line, if they get on the offensive line. So, with that being said, and I think Brandon would tend to agree with me here, but there is a certain offensive tackle that has been falling and he's from Texas.
That's beef.
And that's beef. That's beef.
We're going to open some more Arby's in Florida.
Actually, there is a Sonic right next to the Hard Rock Stadium, and it's been there for
Nice.
literally like 30 seconds away from the stadium. Actually, people park there illegally, so they can park for free.
Sonic, the official fast food joint of the Southeastern Conference.
Here you go. I do see, like, if Mason Graham were to fall all the way this far, I think the Dolphins would take him, but they need an offensive tackle. They need to protect the guy back there that gets hurt when he opens his eyelids when he wakes up from his sleep. So, Brandon, if you have no rebuttal to this, I think the pick is in.
I don't even think this is technically our pick. So Cameron gifted it to you as a Miami fan. So you go.
Oh, there you go. It's Cam. I mean, you're tricking me.
Hey, that's the role we play.
Oh, jeez. I mean, you got me hyped
I literally
up.
was looking at my list. I was like, did I get everything wrong? We don't have this pick. All right.
Brandon, thank you for having my back. Jesus Christ.
No, you got it. Go for it.
See, that's I suckered Jordan in to make it seem like he had the pick and he helped make the decision for me. See, that's how great GMs work. Thank you for help making the pick pretty obvious there, Jordan.
Yeah.
Do you have any other qualms, Matty?
No, it makes sense. I mean, they need a lot, though. Maybe they also need a receiver at some point, given current situation. But yeah, Banks makes sense.
So I think it's safe to say that the pick is in. With the help of another general manager who is not on our team, the Miami Dolphins select a fast rising tackle who at this point is expected to go inside the top 15, and that is Kelvin Banks, the tackle from Texas.
Man, if only Josh Simmons didn't tear his pec, man.
I will say, wasn't if memory serves me right, wasn't Banks actually ranked the top tackle before kind of like this whole cycle began? Like once the regular season was winding down, if I'm not mistaken, Banks was like graded as like the top tackle, and then Membu, started being inserted in there. Yeah, if memory serves me right, I thought that he was graded as like the best tackle. So it's a lesson to all of us. sometimes what you hear in the very, very beginning works out to be true. So Calvin Banks is now off the clock, and that puts the Indianapolis Colts on the clock of the AFC South. I think this is obviously he's off the board, but this has been a very, very, very popular spot for Colston Loveland for me. A very popular spot. What's going to say you guys? I mean, obviously, they need a little bit more help than just tight end, but
this was absolutely a prime spot for one of these tight ends to go if either of them were still available. Obviously, that's not going to be the case here. But I do think they're going to do something on the offensive side of the ball. They invested pretty heavily on the defensive side that also needed help, but in free agency with signing Charvarius Ward and Cam Bynum. So got a little bit better in the secondary there. A lot better, actually. But
linebacker,
they could use some help at linebacker. The biggest thing I was like, what's the biggest goal of the Colts this year? The goal is to save the jobs of the main staff in Indianapolis, and primarily Chris Ballard. Chris Ballard wants to CYA as much as he possibly can, and the best way for him to do that is basically to make as many moves as he might have to make Anthony Richardson look somewhat good. So I think they're going to do something on the offensive side of the ball. I think they would love to take a tight end here, but they also lost 2 offensive linemen in free agency as well. I think going somewhere on the offensive line could be in their future. I'm curious to hear what Jordan says.
So since the tight ends are off the board, it does get a little tricky for the Colts. Since they have so much that they have to address, I do understand that Anthony Richardson is their priority, because if he does not have a semi-decent year, everybody will be fired. But with that being said, I mean, there are still some defensive positions that they need to address, and one of them being safety. And right now, one of them is still on the board, and he's arguably the best player available. Another position they need to address is a linebacker as well. And there's a Jahad Campbell out there.
Mm-hmm.
But if tight end is not the pick here, which it can't be in our scenario, I do think they transition to the best player available for defense. And I don't know, I have Malachi Starks and Jahad Campbell just staring at me right now.
I mean, those would definitely be smarter picks. The only reason I'm thinking they're going to go offense is primarily Chris Ballard wants to save his job.
Yes, makes more sense.
But I mean, I can absolutely see of the two of them. I think.
What offensive player are you thinking about?
I was maybe thinking they have a couple options. You could go Gray Zabel if you want more interior flexibility. I do think it's a little high though for him, going at 14. So that's something that I think would be
wide receivers out of the picture,
potentially doable, just because they lost a center, both the center and their guard, and he can start at either one of those spots for them. That's a potential option. Tyler Booker also is a very good guard out of Alabama as well that they could slot in to replace Will Fries. Man,
that's the one that was the one I was eyeing.
Yeah, to me, it's like do whatever you can to make Anthony Richardson better, to save your job, Chris Ballard. But I do see the path for them to do something on the defensive side of the ball. I could also see them potentially maybe going after the trenches on the other side and on defense, specifically, and taking a defensive lineman here as well. They need some help there. But I mean, Malachi Starks staring at you to pair with Cam Bynum is pretty intriguing. I don't even know who their other safety is.
I think that should tell you the whole story, right?
Question for me, right? I'm actually curious about this. Who is their other safety?
I know the
Nick Cross. I don't even know who that is.
Oh, Nick Cross actually did lead them in tackles at one point.
Yeah. Is he good? I literally don't. I don't know who that is. I've never heard his name. I've literally never heard of this man.
You might be asking your own question there if you're asking if he's good or not.
I definitely can see them taking Starks. I'm just like, I think Chris Ballard is going to go offense. That's just my thing. Is like, he wants to save his job, and he shouldn't have a job anymore, to be honest with you. But if you want to take Malachi Starks, go for it. I think he probably would take Booker.
I like
just because he's got to do something for Anthony Richardson.
I like it.
Pick us in.
Pick us in.
The Indianapolis Colts select.
We are taking Tyler Booker. Wow. PFF has him ranked way lower.
They do.
Wow, that's surprising.
Now, this puts the Atlanta Falcons on the clock, and there is, if you were to ask the Atlanta Falcons, Brandon and Jordan, of like the best possible situation that would work out for them on the defensive side of the ball, you could not have asked for a better scenario for them because they have Malachi Starks on their board available for them. They have Jihad Campbell available to them. They also have Mike Green available to them. And everything that I heard and listening to the NFL Stock Exchange podcast, Mike Green is one of the players that they have done the most homework on. So Mike Green might be one of those places to file away for the Atlanta Falcons here with this pick. So the Atlanta Falcons of the NFC South, what are we doing here?
I'm fairly confident in this pick.
I wonder if Jordan and I are on the same page here. I wonder if we're both thinking something a little bit different than what Cam was saying, but someone that they could absolutely use.
I mean, just because, again, this is more of what we think is going to happen, not what we would do. So I think that's where we may have a little disconnect. But I think the obvious one here is Jihad Campbell to the Falcons.
Yeah, that was it too for me. It was Jihad Campbell.
Me and Brandon are just
same wavelength.
We can run a team.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about Matt.
You need some help. I'm already in your war room.
I don't know about Matty, but I will say I think that the one position I would probably put there is probably Malachi Starks, and that's just because of the unfortunate signing of Justin Simmons, and it didn't exactly work out well there at safety, and obviously cornerback is still there, right? Like Will Johnson and Jahdae Barron is still there. So I mean, it's certainly possible that they could go those directions, but I mean, and you're also keeping Starks at home too.
So the reason that I'm going Jihad Campbell personally here as well, even though, I mean, it sucks because he had, was it a shoulder surgery, I think, which could push him down a little bit more, which is unfortunate, but the dude is just an absolute fireball of a linebacker. And the biggest thing to me that pushes Jihad Campbell over the top for the Falcons is the Falcons, like, since forever have needed edge help in every way possible, and Jihad Campbell can rush the passer for you as well. He's a great inside linebacker, but he can also be a pass rusher for you as well. You can play him on the edge, or he can even rush the passer coming up the middle a little bit too. So I think Campbell is absolutely the pick for the Falcons, and Jordan and I are on the same page here.
So pick is in.
Pick is in. Terry Fontenot does not surprise everybody, and he actually chooses a logical pick. And the Falcons take.
They haven't taken a defensive player in the first round in 4 years, apparently. I saw that in Schrager's mock draft.
By the way, I will say I even think though the linebacker position makes a ton of sense. Troy Anderson is a really good linebacker. He just can't stay healthy. So if you luck out and you're able to get Campbell and Anderson for a healthy season. That's a pretty sneaky duo there at linebacker. The Arizona Cardinals are on the clock. Now, I think that there's probably one position and one position only that I think we could probably target here, Matty, for the Cardinals in the NFC East. NFC West. Sorry, I did it again. NFC West. And it would be probably two players in particular. And it would be Jahdae Barron or Will Johnson.
Yeah. On what you want, right? Do you want a guy who's more technical probably in a Jahdae Barron, or maybe the guy who's flashier in like a Will Johnson? I could go either way here. Earlier on, Will Johnson was considered a top 6-7 prospect in the draft, and he has since slid, and Barron's kind of risen. But yeah, it's certainly between those two. I'll probably give them Jahdae Barron here.
Yeah, I think I'm of the same wavelength. This might actually be a case of, despite of like what we think is going to happen, this is probably a case with it being Will Johnson and Barron. I'm a little bit higher on Barron than I am Johnson. But I think that Johnson has maybe just slightly more playmaking to him. But Barron has far more playmaking, versatility, that sort of thing. So I would tend to go with Barron there.
Mm-hmm.
So the pick is in for the Arizona Cardinals. With the 16th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals will select Jahdae Barron, the cornerback from Texas. This is one of those few positions or players that if he was available at pick 20 and the Broncos took him, I wouldn't be upset at all. Now the Cincinnati Bengals of the AFC North is on the clock. This team certainly does not need offense, guys. They have quite the money committed to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase now.
I mean, they could go running back, maybe.
They could. As a sneaky position.
So the Bengals, this is an interesting one to me. I'll just say my piece, and then I'll let Jordan chime in too, because I'm interested to hear what he says. But the biggest news for the Bengals obviously has been one, their defense is absolutely atrocious, and their one player who's actually good on the defense has also requested a trade in Trey Hendrickson, which not a great look, not great, Bob. I could see them taking an edge rusher here because they definitely will need it if Trey Hendrickson leaves. Putting a rookie pass rusher in this situation would suck, but I think this is a place where Mike Green could go. That's actually, I think, a mock that I saw someone make a pick for the Bengals of in one of the kind of major media members that has fairly well-placed sources. But just in general, I think Mike Green is probably the best remaining edge player on the board in general. Dude had an absolutely nasty rep against Josh Connolly at the Senior Bowl and then immediately quit because he already won and didn't need to continue to play anymore. But I think it could be Mike Green here. I think they need edge rusher help, and especially if they lose Trey Hendrickson, who is still not happy with contract negotiations, and that defense desperately needs help in every way possible. I could see that being.
I want to throw a wrinkle in here for you guys because they did lose what's his face, the stout nose tackle. What is his name? B.J. Hill.
B.J. Hill.
They lost B.J. Hill, and I think they re-signed Sheldon Rankins, or they lost him too, but. A fit that's, and I know it's been kind of like what I would want to have happen, but it's also one of those cases in doing these mock drafts where you also kind of have a bit of both there. One fit that I can't get out of my head when it comes to the Cincinnati Bengals is Kenneth Grant here with his Cincinnati Bengals, and that is just because of the fit of Grant and trying to replace BJ Hill. So
that's another option. If Walter Nolan fell this far, which he didn't and won't, I could see him going here too.
Me and Brendan are in a
what are you thinking?
lockstep here. Me and Brendan are in a lockstep here. I think we need an edge.
okay.
Every mock draft I've seen has been an edge for the Bengals, and obviously it makes sense. Obviously, we do not know their big board on who they view higher, but I know Mike Green has been getting a lot of love as of late. Also, someone that the Bengals do love is also Shamar Stewart.
Mm.
So right now it's between those two for me. I don't
Wait.
think
Do you think that we would have any hesitation over the lack of production from Shamar Stewart?
I think so. I think if it was up to us, I think so. I will for sure consider it. That's why I probably lean more Mike Green.
Okay.
But the traits from Stewart, just like the physical traits, are just absurd.
Shamar Stewart is definitely the lump of incredibly gifted clay in this draft class that
Yes.
if you're the team that wants to bet on traits, Shamar Stewart is the traits guy. But I don't think they can afford to bet on traits. not with Trey Hendrickson potentially leaving and then that defense just being so terrible.
Now, also, am I a little biased because I know Shamar Stewart and have played ball with him before? Yes, I may be, but I do understand that. But I will still go Mike Green in this.
Is the pick green? Is the pick in?
The pick is in.
All right, the pick is in.
Shamar, if you're watching, I did not say that.
With the 17th pick, the Cincinnati Bengals select Mike Green. I do like Shamar Stewart, though. Don't get me wrong. I think he's going to be good.
No, I do too. Trust me, I want no problems with him. But
Hey,
I think if Shamar Stewart somehow goes to like the Eagles,
yeah.
oh,
Yeah, that'd be scary.
Oh boy.
So Matty, I want to run something by. Let's get freaky.
whoa,
Obviously, I'm kind of feeling this out a little bit, and there's been some rumblings. Let's trade Kenneth Walker.
what?
They're going to trade one of them. Walker or Charbonnet is gonna be on another team probably.
Let's trade Kenneth Walker to the Raiders,
Holy
Yeah.
shit!
and then let's draft Amari in Hampton.
Wow.
I don't hate it. However, we just lost Metcalf. We just lost Lockett. Obviously, we have Jackson Smith and Jigba,
And Cooper Kupp.
Don't you dare!
but wide receiver makes sense.
Oh no.
I don't think it. I actually don't think it makes as much sense though as like edge or interior offensive line though.
Maybe. Yeah, I could agree. Who would be worth it right here?
Ray Zabel.
Maybe. Yeah. So it'd be between him and I would say Golden here to be a Lockett replacement in that offense. It's really between those two for me here. If I'm trying to put myself in their position, they have to do what they can to be right on Darnold. So, yeah, I could go Zabel here too. I wouldn't go running back. I understand the sentiment, but I think that they would replace Kenneth Walker maybe in the second or third round.
Oh, so you're trying to say that they're going to rip my heart out and take Caleb Johnson in the second round, and
We can't draft 15 running backs. We're going to get one of them. It'll be fine.
It's just something I randomly thought of.
I
As
get
of
it.
now. Yeah. So maybe Omarion Hampton's a sneaky position here for the Seahawks.
Maybe. I like Zabel
I have another one.
and I like Golden.
I have another one,
Okay.
and it's going to make Jordan's dad's really unhappy. But Nick Immonworry in Seattle.
He feels boomish to me. I don't hate it necessarily. I do think that they would probably go offense though. But that's an interesting spot.
Why don't you make the pick on this one?
We'll go with Zabel.
All right.
There you go. I like that.
The Seattle Seahawks, with the 18th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, take Gray Zabel, the tackle from North Dakota State, who, by the way, as far as like my best team fits, is probably the Detroit Lions. All right, so now that puts the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on
Tampa Bakers. Let's go.
and they hold the 19th pick. And this one's kind of been across the board. I think that if Jahad Campbell or Jalen Walker had been sitting there for, the replacement for Levante David, I think would have been ideal. But they can still go some directions here. And I think the one position that I've seen that's really been popular, GMs over there, has been Donovan Ezeraku.
Yes.
Jordan, what are you thinking?
So I find it interesting, and just on the personal side, I'm scared as a Broncos fan because I've seen respected mock drafters have wide receivers go to the Bucs. And I don't.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah,
it does not. That's why it scares me. That's why it scares me. And
But why? Why they still have Mike Evans. They brought Chris Godwin back, and Jalen McMillan was promising as a rookie.
unless Mike Evans told them something that no one knows, I don't know. But I have seen Matthew Golden here, and I have seen McMillan here. Obviously, McMillan's not available, but I'm not even going to go down that route. I think the Bucs are going to do something different, and I hope they do from a Broncos fan standpoint.
It should be edge or a corner that fell to him.
Exactly.
If only there
Yeah,
was
when I-
one of those.
When I do look at the board, there is a corner that is pretty good. And he, besides Malachi Starks, is probably the second best player available right now. So, Brandon, what are your thoughts here?
Let me see the other available defensive players.
There is Malachi Starks from Georgia, and then there's Will Johnson, the corner from Michigan, who
Dude, Will Johnson here is crazy. He also didn't run though. I wonder why that is.
Short arms. Stewart. Morris.
I do see either Will Johnson or I see James Pierce here. Just my opinion.
James Pierce, the only thing with that is there's been quite a lot brewing about his off the field issues and just personal evaluation.
Still feels kind of easy to me.
Yeah, Will Johnson is stupid at 19. Let's be honest. It's stupid that he's still available. We're going with Will Johnson.
Okay, pick us in.
Oh. The Buccaneers.
Go ahead.
And the Buccaneers with the 19th pick and their not so good stadium, they select corner Will Johnson.
All right. That leaves the Denver Broncos on the clock. Now, I know we are doing GMs, and we're doing GMs of teams, but I am going to slightly change this a little bit. I'm going to make us all GMs of the Broncos here for just this one pick.
Oh, there we go. Oh, nice.
Now, let's put our collective hats together And what are we doing here in this scenario?
Trading back, baby.
I would love to trade back. I don't know who's trading up and who are they trading up for.
I don't think-
Quarterback ahead of Pittsburgh.
Maybe.
But I don't know if
Dart, Milrow, or Shadur. Somebody will want to trade up for one of those guys.
Don't crush my dreams.
Let's take a look at who. Well, I mean, we don't necessarily have to continue to scroll down, but the teams picking after the Broncos, other than the Steelers, that could want to jump the Steelers for a quarterback,
Browns.
pretty much is the Browns.
The Giants.
Giants.
The Giants could want to come back into the bottom part of round one.
Sneaky the Rams.
The Rams, depending on where Matthew Stafford, everything is with Matthew Stafford.
Come on.
Just don't let Stafford's wife near the backup, I guess.
I want to propose. I want to propose something to you, and this has been one of my favorite scenarios as of late. I want to propose a scenario for you guys, and this has been one of my favorite scenarios as of late. We stay at 20, but we get freaky and we trade back into the first round for our running back.
I love that idea.
It's an intriguing idea. Who are you trading back in with, though?
You would trade
Who
back.
are you taking here?
I would, me personally, I'm agendaing.
In this scenario,
I am agendaing, and I am taking Emeka Egbuka at 20, without hesitation, and I am going right back in. And depending on if he's there, debating on whether I want Omarion Hampton or Travion Henderson. And frankly, I think I would lean Travion Henderson simply because, and this is just my own opinion, I think that Sean Payton would take Travion Henderson over Omarion Hampton without hesitation.
why is that?
Why?
Yeah, why did you say that?
I think Henderson is the better fit. Even though I think Hampton is a fit, I think Henderson is just a little bit better fit. He can do anything with you. You could line him out outside. You could put him basically as a wide receiver. You could do a lot of different things with him as far as, what he used to do with Alvin Kamara. You could do some devastating screens for him, something that this team has already struggled with a little bit, but gotten better as of late last year. So you are not just also upgrading your team on the field, but you're upgrading your team off the field by bringing in players like Travion Henderson and Emeka Egbuka. So I would not hesitate in taking Emeka Egbuka and then jumping right back in ahead of the Washington Commanders and taking Travion Henderson.
That makes sense.
Interesting.
Man, this just brings a tear to my eye.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. The only thing that sticks out to me is this is a draft where you can get multiple starters at spots on this roster that are going to need starters soon. And I'm saying, obviously running back is one of them. I'm talking defensive line and I'm talking tight end. And I want to have some picks available to play around at those spots a little bit. And this is an insanely deep running back class.
But
I wouldn't even mind taking a running back here. But my only hesitation with the trade back into the first round is, what are you going to give up to do it? Are you going to give up picks that could turn into, Terrence Ferguson from Oregon, right?
I would trade
Something
80,
like that.
I would trade 85. And I'm not even kidding. I actually sent this to Jordan today. I would trade in a first round pick. That's how confident I am about as far as if I'm Sean Payton, this is how confident I am about landing this pick. I would very much forfeit my first round pick to get back into the first round and take Henderson. No hesitation.
Who was it that said? I don't know if you guys have heard it too. Someone said out there that's like a analysis or whatever, an analyst I should say, that the Broncos wouldn't be afraid to trade their next year's first, thinking that it'd be a late first round pick.
Somebody said that when the rumor came out about us trading up for Ashton Genty, and and they were talking about how much that would cost, or the pipe dream of like Travis Hunter. If there was a way to move up for him, that they wouldn't be gun shy there because they just assume it would be late in the first round. But
I think that holds more weight than more people think.
The only other thing I'd want to throw in here that could be true, but are you confident we're going to be keeping Zach Allen and John Franklin Myers, who are both on the final year of the contracts? And remember how absolutely horrendous the secondary looked when we lost Riley Moss?
That's fine, but I mean, like, I still think we can.
I'm just shooting these out there just as points. I'm not saying I disagree, but go ahead.
I just think that, this entire offseason has been about being the defensive oriented, and this offense and this draft is about building around Bo Nix. And you're getting two of the best maybe players and safest options if you pull this off.
This is also a deep interior defensive lineman draft as well. I think Zach Allen stays with us. I don't think JFM will be with us after next year. But Brandon, hear out my pipe dream.
Go ahead. Go for it.
This is my pipe. I mean, I would do things for this to happen. Obviously, Ibuka at 20.
What kind of things?
All right, Matty, come on. Ibuka at 20, right? And then we stay at 51. We either get Caleb Johnson or we get Quishon Jenkins, whoever you want.
I would love it.
This is the kicker, though. After we get to that 51, whoever running back that is, I trade our third-round pick, the 85th pick, and next year's fourth, and I go get Jameson Williams. And I am through the roof. I am jumping up and down. I'm a little kid.
Have there been reports that Jameson Williams is available?
Yes,
there has been.
I've not seen this at all.
I mean, if I can get Ibuka, Caleb Johnson, or Quishon Jenkins, and Jameson Williams, because I'll easily trade my 85th pick and a future fourth for Jameson. I mean, I would do that yesterday.
I would love that. I don't know. Oh man,
that's
how I would be.
If in that scenario, that tells me we're not keeping Cortland Sutton. Which, if we're not keeping Cortland Sutton, I love that move. I love getting two great weapons for Bo in the passing game, specifically just at wide receiver, pass catcher, and having the ability to obviously still get a running back. But I mean, if we're not keeping Cortland Sutton, we've heard multiple times about how they view the wide receiver room and that they like it. But I think if you lose Cortland Sutton, that room becomes a question mark pretty quickly, and no guarantee that he stays. So I love that plan too.
Imagine Sutton, Ibuka, Jameson Williams, Marvin Mims.
Yeah, that'd be
Those
sweet.
Four. I mean, oh my God.
I think if they do anything, they just rather stand pat and take Ibuka versus trading in.
I'm okay with let's take Ibuka here. I'm 100% down to taking Ibuka here.
Here we go.
That's not a problem whatsoever.
With the 20th pick,
say it,
2025 NFL Draft, the agenda is thriving. The Denver Broncos select the wide receiver 1 of this class from the Ohio State University, the most overlooked wide receiver of this entire draft class. And it is Emeka Egbuka.
That's that, man.
He looks so beautiful, man. Look at that. In the beautiful orange Broncos jersey. No, it's perfect. All right. So now that puts we'll do rapid fire now. That puts the Pittsburgh Steelers
We can go quick.
on the clock. Now, we are doing what we think is going to happen. Obviously, we did not trade, and the Steelers are on the clock. But there is one other player here that they could take, and that is Omarion Hampton.
That is true.
No, the Shador Sanders is the pick here.
But Shador is the pick. I agree. Yeah.
I don't even think we have to talk about this one.
Yeah. This one I don't think necessarily needs to be talked about all that much. And by the way, if you guys are into the thing about projecting into the future, Shador did mention that DK Metcalf and Pickens were one of the better duos in the NFL. So why would he say that? Right? What's the win horse? Now why would they say that? With the 21st pick in the NFL draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers take Shador Sanders. I actually like the fit overall just from the personality side because I think we forget about, Tomlin has dealt with Russell Wilson. He's dealt with Justin Fields. He's dealt with Ben Roethlisberger. He's dealt with, Le'Veon Bell. He's obviously dealt with James Harrison. He's obviously dealt with Antonio Brown. So he's dealt with so many different personalities. So I think that, I really do think that, it would be one where the fit actually isn't as bad as people necessarily say it is. So now that puts the Los Angeles Chargers on the clock here, Matty, and I would venture to guess that there's a different directions that they could go, but I would say that in this particular one, there's a few scenarios where it seems like it's a bit easy to mock to them if this player's here. And he's on that interior defensive line.
Yeah, which way are you thinking?
I'm thinking about a nice little reunion, of course, and that would be Kenneth Grant.
Yeah, that makes sense. They also could go receiver here. I know they got Ladd last year, but they need weapons on offense. Tight end would be the move here, but obviously there's nobody that's worth the 22nd pick right now. So yeah, Kenneth Grant, that makes sense. Let's go with that.
Good pick.
The Los Angeles Chargers do not surround Justin Herbust, and they go with Kenneth Grant, the interior defensive lineman from Michigan. Now, that puts the Green Bay Packers on the clock. Now, this has been kind of an interesting one. If I'm not mistaken, they have not drafted a first-round wide receiver in a minute. And there's a few ways that they can go. They could go that wide receiver with a few players that are certainly on the board. Matthew Golden is certainly there, and Luther Burden is there. They could also go edge, of course. And, of course, there's another corner in Trey Amos if they want to go corner.
Jordan?
Man, I have no idea what the Packers are going to do. I mean, they haven't picked a receiver in the first round since like the 1800s. So I don't know if they're going to do that. Even though they've been clamoring for a real wide receiver one. Well, if you are, then you're probably looking at Golden and Luther Burden at this position. But do they view him or them as a true wide receiver one? That's the question.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think in the Packers system that neither of them would be a true wide receiver one, which is crazy because I think Burden has all the time in the world. But just because how LaFleur's offensive system works, I don't think he'd be getting the heavy amount of targets.
Plus, you'd be taken away from Jaden Reed, who's been sneaky good for the Packers.
Exactly. So you may have to look defense here. And there's a guy from Boston College that's still there, or they're still the best player available, and he's a safety. I mean,
Starks and yeah.
Jordan, I'll let you take the pick here. I have no clue what the Packers will do.
so as I look at their roster, their safeties, Xavier McKinney, he's a good player, and then Evan Williams. If I compare Xavier McKinney with Malachi Starks, I'm gonna do it. So pick is in. And in front of the hometown crowd, the Packers select the best player available for them, Malachi Starks.
I also think Malachi is kind of a sneaky spot for Minnesota.
Yes, he is,
I do.
which is why the Vikings fans are mad right now.
After losing Cam Bynum makes sense.
Well, and I wouldn't. And this is,
Harrison Smith is 78 years old too. So
I don't know who I saw, but I thought I saw someone who's a bit of a notable person in the draft circle who did mock a player that Jordan has told me about for Minnesota, and he's still out there. So we could see a run of back-to-back safeties here.
I mean, Brandon.
Show me the safeties.
you're talking about Emanwari.
Is Emanwari's available? That's what I thought. Yeah. It's Emanwari. That's crazy that he's that low. That's ridiculous.
PFF is effed up.
Yeah. No, it's Nick Emanwari. It's not even close.
What about Omari and Hampton?
So this was the other thing I was thinking about, because ironically enough, Peter Schrager has Omari and Hampton going to the Vikings. And I found that very interesting. Like, very, very interesting. So, but Emanwari just screams Vikings. Him with Flores will be just magical.
I could see them taking a running back for sure. I just think the talent that you're going to get with Nick Emanwari, you're not going to find easily.
The class is deep.
Yeah, and the class is deep at running back. They need some defensive back help. They need safety help. I would take Nick Emanwari here.
Yep.
So is the pick in?
Pick is in. It's Nick Emanwari.
'24th pick. The Vikings select Nick Emanwari.
Tell us about Nick Emanwari, Matty.
What do you want to know? You can line the guy up anywhere. He can move all over the field. He is like an actual productive version of like what Isaiah Simmons was supposed to be. But he is, how can I put this? DK Metcalf is an athletic freak, and Emanwari would sun him.
It's crazy.
And like that's not a crazy statement. The guy
Emanwari hit 10 overall relative athletic score at multiple positions.
Yeah. As at wide receiver, at corner, at safety. Like, the guy is just ridiculous. Emanwari in Minnesota, he'll be able to cover a lot on the back end. Like, that's a great fit for them. Man, PFF is effed up. There's no way he should be that
Yeah,
low.
that's ridiculous.
Yeah. The Houston Texans are on the clock, and they need offensive line help. Like no one's business. And I think I see a Matty. They could go Luther Burden here, but I have to influence some general managers in here. They did sign Christian Kirk. They did upgrade the wide receiver room just a little bit, even still post Stephon Diggs. That said, though, if they wanted to get maybe a guy who compares a bit favorable to Stephon Diggs, he is out there.
I don't know, Brandon. I think this is probably one of the more obvious picks.
Yeah.
I think you got to go offensive line. And
It's Josh Connolly or
Simmons.
Josh Simmons. It's one of the Joshes.
Simmons has been popular.
Simmons is better, but I just think it depends on how you view his injury.
And Simmons,
think
I think, is
Simmons.
popular. Yeah. Pick
I'm
in.
okay with Simmons.
Pick is in. The 25th overall pick, the Texans select Josh Simmons, tackle, the Ohio State.
You guys want to start trading up now if you're the Broncos?
I think you make a call. I mean, McVay and Peyton have a relationship, so you could. It's not typically the Rams' MO to trade back and get more picks. They typically go the other way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm viewing another team that has a very good connection with Peyton.
Detroit Lions?
Yep.
All right, we'll wait for the Lions here.
Yeah.
So the Rams are on the clock, and they are in the NFC West. And they're a sneaky team if they wanted to go Jackson Dart here. Now, I want to throw something out to you, Matty, as far as, feeling frisky a little bit.
You're feeling frisky or freaky? Like you're on one tonight.
Yeah. There's been some buzz of a certain player that might be rising up boards. And so much so, he might be even in the first round. What can I do to entertain you to the idea of Mason Taylor in the first round to the Los Angeles Rams?
I mean, it keeps him away from Kansas City, who also is a potential landing spot for him. Like any number of teams there.
Actually, in the last 2 to 3 days, it's just a fit that I can't get out of my head. Higbee's injured a lot. I think it's a very sneaky need for them, if you will, of like upgrading from Higbee.
And the smart guy circles are talking about him, not even making it to day 2 or being like one of the first off the board in day 2. So like we were thinking Taylor would be back end of the second round. Maybe that. No, we're probably a round off for where he's valued. It makes sense. They need a tight end, but they need a lot.
Don't need wide receiver though.
Well, you'd think. I mean, they could even go edge here because there are a couple of guys staring me in the face. That makes sense. I know that edge isn't necessarily a quote unquote need, but it is a premium position and it's a premium pick. I'll say either we go edge or we could go with Taylor.
Okay.
Your call.
The pick is in.
Better tight end. You'll be drafted.
Did you say better tight end is in the draft? The Los Angeles Rams with the 26th pick will select edge Donovan Izaraku.
Like it.
Baltimore Ravens are on the clock now. Pick 27. I'll tell you, this is an idea of what they should do. But I don't know if they will. And that is continuing to build the playmakers around Lamar Jackson. There's 2 wide receivers that are available. One in particular would actually be a phenomenal fit, GMs, in Baltimore. And probably one that's not really talked about all that much. And that would be Luther Burden in Baltimore.
I am considering it, but Brandon, I got 2 players on my mind for this one, both edges. And they're more of their potential through the roof. And they scream Ravens to me. It's either James Pierce or Shamar Stewart.
Yeah, Shamar, yeah.
Oh, I would think it would be Shamar Stewart personally here.
Yeah, Williams.
I think Shamar Stewart has all the potential in the world, and put him on a team like the Ravens in that organization, you're absolutely going to be getting a good player. They just seem to the Ravens seem to find some way to take the sliding talent and steal him late in the first round every single year. They need edge help. I would definitely be happy with Shamar Stewart. James Pierce too. I just don't think James Pierce with again the character issues. That doesn't seem like a Ravens. I don't see the Ravens dealing with something like that.
Is the pick in?
The pick is
Yeah.
in. Baltimore Ravens
Select Shamar Stewart with the 27th overall pick.
Now let's get to trading. So, we are trading with the Detroit Lions. What are we offering? 85. Start with 85. Future one. Start with second.
Well, you're on them, right?
Yeah,
who's
you're
on the left?
picking from the.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
And then
Future
add,
second.
add their pick to this just so we can. All right. Future second. Let's see if that works. 2 and a 4. Probably won't.
Maybe do.
No, that won't be enough.
No, I'm just saying like we would.
Yep. Give him 122 as well. I mean, I don't think that's going to be enough, but
Okay. We're going to need to offer the 1.
yeah, probably.
So,
I ain't complaining.
and they're still not interested.
Well, no, because you're doing it from the Lions side, it's not gonna.
Oh, yeah.
So you could just offer it. They'll do it. Oh,
Mhm.
wow! They don't want to do it.
So that was offering our 3rd and our 4th rounder this year and our 1st next year. I'm not offering 2, a 1, and a 4 to move up for running back. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, that's a bit too rich.
I'll stick at 51 and draft whoever's there later.
No,
But
if
if
you
you-
want Jameson Williams, we can do that.
If you want to force it for the vibes, then go ahead and force it.
Yeah. Just for the vibes, you can.
So
Go
what was
for
it? It was 122.
Nope. I'm not offering them a 3, a 4, and a 1 for a running back.
I'd offer them a second and probably next year's first and next year's fourth, maybe.
Mm-mm.
Thing is, I think they want picks in this draft just because it's a starter draft, especially in the second and third. Which I don't blame them.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, I'm not offering 3 premium picks to move up for a running back. If we were going to offer 3 premium picks, we should have just got Ashton Genty and.
This is just, I know, but this is just more. I'm like thinking in the mind of Sean Payton too now, because it's just like he.
In the mind of Sean Payton, I don't think this would happen. But if you want to force it just for the memes,
Yeah, just force
let's
it.
do it.
Fine.
Wow. And the Broncos are on the clock.
How much would you be freaking out right now?
This is my favorite scenario, and we.
Yeah, out.
I would not be super pumped, but I mean, I would like the end result. I would hate the process.
And it would be Travion, right?
Yeah.
I think we can safely assume that.
I think it'd be for Trayvon.
Yeah. Which it's remarkable people talking about potentially like 4 running backs going in the first round, and the second one goes off the board at 28.
Mm-hmm. Now that probably leaves the Washington Commanders with the pick, and this has actually been a really popular one of late, and then, you know, what is it in the last 12 hours? And even according to Benjamin Albright's mock draft, this has been a really popular one. But Amarian Hampton to the Commanders? What say you? Matty?
Perfect sense. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think Brian Robinson's in there long term.
I think this is his last year of his deal.
Like, it's just a natural fit. Slid on the board. It's going to be like, oh my God, Jaden Daniels, look at all this that they built around him. I can just see it, the graphic on ESPN right now.
Yeah.
Ryan Hampton.
Maureen Hampton to the Washington Commanders. 3 picks to go. It's actually the first time in the first round where every single team has a pick. No team is forfeited a pick. Every single team has 32 picks. That's crazy.
Well, except for the Broncos, who had 2, and the Lions have none now.
It's true. But I meant just in the real life. Buffalo Bills are on the clock.
Oof.
I don't know if they'll take him here. They might necessarily take him later. But that said, though, I really like the idea of still building the playmakers around him.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I think corner's a popular pick for this.
I mean, I agree. I'm just saying, like, having Burton here, I think is interesting. But I think the one wide receiver though that is a fit for them, and it would be a bit later, and this is just talking point, is Alec Manor.
That's true. Does seem like a bill.
I mean, James Pierce is like staring us in the face.
He is.
They routinely take. They just reload.
This is a Gregory Rousseau pick. If I've ever seen one, if they take James Pierce,
It just fits to me.
Is it his player comp?
It is. It's Randy Gregory. Yeah, yeah. I think the pick is in. All right, the Buffalo Bills will select James Pierce, the edge out of Tennessee. And that puts the Kansas City Chiefs on the clock. They badly need offensive line help.
I think
Badly.
Connerly is pretty much the pick here.
Yeah, I think that's seems to be a bit of a safe bet. I also don't even know if it's a foregone conclusion that Connerly's even going to be there. He seems to be one of those like rising tackles as of late. Josh Connerly, the tackle out of Oregon. And that leaves the Philadelphia Eagles with the very last pick of the NFL draft. Now, are we feeling Mason Taylor in round 1? And not Elijah Arroyo, by the way, that someone proposed, not too long ago.
I mean, corner could be a fit still.
Elijah's so much better than Mason.
They could even go with like a Norman Lott.
Oof.
It's their MO, right?
I have a guy for the Eagles. Unless he went somehow and I'm missing it. Show me the defensive linemen that are available.
Oh, there's a couple.
Don't say it.
Ooh.
All right. So the guy that I have in mind here for the Eagles, like this to me is the most Eagles play of all time. They lost both Milton Williams and Josh Sweat. They need some more pass rush juice, and the Eagles continuing to invest in the defensive trenches in the first round is just like a tale as old as time. That's what they do. Derek Carman is sitting here staring them in the face. I think Derek Carman is absolutely the pick here for the Eagles personally. Brings you some good pass rush juice on the interior, and he's going to be your Milton Williams replacement.
We're going to go with Carman? Yep.
Also, him being at 42 in PFF. PFF is drunk.
I also don't know. I also really don't know what.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, Mike. But you know what? It's for the memes.
For the vibes. We wanted vibes.
All right. That will conclude the first round mock draft. Overall, I actually really liked it. Obviously, when we got to the Broncos, we were a bit freaky in getting 2 players. I will say though, and this is one of the reasons why I think the Emeka Egbuka pick, aside from wide receiver itself, is the most flexible option for them. Because if they take him, you could do anything that you want to, for whatever you want to do next. Meaning they can be aggressive for that running back that they want, right? Like they can move up in the second round and take a Caleb Johnson, or they can go take a Mason Taylor in round 2. Like it can force them to be a little bit more aggressive, in that day 2 or even into the first round, and take the player that they've fallen in love with, possibly in Travion Henderson, which apparently is scalding hot as of late. But all in all, guys, thoughts on the first round draft?
Thought it was good. Thought it was great.
That was fun.
Especially from the Broncos side of things. I mean, you get this guy. I mean, a dream, and then you also trade back to the first round. You get this guy. So
A couple guys who just won a championship.
yeah, I think it's pretty good.
The Denver Buckeyes. Let's go.
There you go.
But and maybe it's just the optimism in me, but I would not rule a scenario out like that. All right. Now, obviously, we are winding things down, and it is the NFL draft here tomorrow. So we would certainly like to conclude this with this. We'll go around the room. The Denver Broncos actually will select who? We'll start with you, Matty.
Travion Henderson.
We're going to end it with Jordan. Brandon, what's the vibe that you're feeling? You are like the Geico commercial. You've been living under a rock for quite some time. Tell us.
Hey, that ain't true.
Tell us the vibes of Brandon Miller. What you're feeling. What's your vibe? You think they're going to go running back? You think they're going to go trenches? What do you think they're going to do with pick 20 or stay at 20?
I think it's probably going to stay at 20. I think it's probably going to be O'Marion Hampton.
You're going with.
That's not who I would take.
You're going with
Megan
Megan Payton's inside scoop.
I'm going with a lot of people's insights, man. But also, I just think it makes sense. I wouldn't do it personally, but that's what I think happens.
Jordan, what is on your radar, and why is it trading up for Colston Loveland? Why is that something that fires your rocket as far as what you want the Broncos to do?
No, I will say, because I have people in my mentions asking me why. Listen, it's not because I don't like Colston Loveland. And by the way, I am opposed.
It's because you hate Colston Loveland.
It's not because I don't like the kid. Colston Loveland is really good. I think he's going to be a good player in the league. But if the Broncos draft, and if they even take it a step further and trade up for Colston Loveland, I will be very, very, very upset. Like, very upset. So with that being said, the reason why is because we just signed Evan Ingram, who's going to take the majority of the snaps for tight ends, meaning Colston Loveland is going to get the backup snaps. And yes, I understand we could play 12 personnel, but we're not going to be in that every single time. Just pick a guy at 20 that is going to have an immediate impact, whether that's your starting running back who can be an O'Marion Hampton or a Travion Henderson, who's going to be playing the majority of the snaps, or the guy the Broncos should draft. And my prediction, and listen, it wasn't my prediction this morning, but after my boy Peter Schrager came out with it, I have to go with it because, again, he is the most accurate mock drafter, and I trust his opinion, but I also trust my gut too. It's Emeka Egbuka.
He'll be there. Like, Henderson will be there. I don't know if Hampton will be there. Like, Egbuka will be there. It is funny, like, when you read, like, the different mock drafts as of late in the last 12 to 24 hours, I think it just screams no one knows what they're going to do. It just screams no one knows what they're going to do. And I think that when you look at it, it was Henderson for me yesterday. And as of late, it wasn't just Peter Schrager who mocked, Emeka Egbuka to Denver. You're starting to hear some chatter about Chase Daniel, not a mock draft, but that if they wanted to go first round wide receiver, it needs to be Emeka Egbuka. And then if you start to kind of follow the tea leaves a little bit, Jeff Legwold mocked Luther Burden to the Broncos, which was a wide receiver.
Matt Miller of ESPN also mocked Emeka Egbuka and even went further in saying, I'm hearing they're more interested in a wide receiver or tight end in the first round. And with Egbuka going to be there at 20, that's why he mocked them there. So for all my Emeka Egbuka people out there, we need Colston Loveland to be gone by the 20th pick.
He'll be gone by 14.
Frankly, we would actually need. I mean, saying Henderson would be gone early would be crazy, but they would need Loveland to be gone, Hampton to be gone.
Yep.
And Warren for Egbuka to actually be a thing. And I think people are overthinking him, and they have been from day one. He can play inside, he can play outside. They will not be necessarily the same players, but people are overthinking Justin Jefferson, and look how that turned out. I think you put Emeka Egbuka in the right offense and the right team, like the Broncos, you are talking about a scenario where Egbuka's ceiling is that of Amon St. Brown. Truly. And I know that is crazy to say, but he does so much for this offense, the middle of the field, Evan Ingram, Bo Nix. He's the perfect complement to Courtland Sutton when they do extend him. And then when Courtland Sutton gets older and they finally, move on from him, so I very much think that the Egbuka stuff is real now. And I wouldn't put him past still to being a bit, frisky and actually trading back in. So as much as the vibes are what we did today, I wouldn't rule anything out at this point. So as far as bold take, what is your bold take in this draft?
I'll go first.
For Denver or in general?
In general.
Tyler Warren 5 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I feel it in my bones.
You're holding true on that one.
Jackson Dart might go in the first round, man. He shouldn't, but he might.
Man, a bold take. Shadur Sanders does not go in the first round.
You're not the first person.
I don't know how bold that is. I'll be honest.
You're not the first person I've actually.
All right.
I'm just messing with you though.
No, I'll go one even bolder. I think the Cowboys draft a quarterback
like in general
in the first round.
Oh,
there you go. That's my bold take.
So
Jalen Milroe, it is. Let's go.
Where was this when we were doing? That's right. You weren't controlling.
Yeah, it's a bold take. I mean, I don't believe it's gonna happen, but a bold take. I think they'll get a quarterback in the first round. I think they trade back up in the first round and they get a quarterback.
Okay. Richie says they will not draft a wide receiver at all, meaning the Broncos.
I will. I can't say what I will do, but if that does happen, I will be very, very upset.
Jordan has been like team wide receiver for like 15 years. Give or take.
I think Jordan wants a quarterback and 10 wide receivers on the field at all times.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be awesome.
Matty, what's your bold take?
Mine was Tyler Warren.
Oh, you have Tyler Warren. Brandon?
I thought he said that mine was
Dart
going first.
Mm.
Falcons take another quarterback.
Stop stalling, Cam. We've all answered Cam.
4 running backs in the first round.
So we're looking at Genty, Hampton, Henderson, and you're going to say Caleb Johnson slides in?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
I also think that from the Broncos standpoint, as far as they bold take, I'm perfectly fine if they wanted to wide receiver this thing like they did in 2020. Like if they wanted to take Travion Henderson at 20 and you aggressively or stand pat and you take Judkins at 51, or if you just so happen to luck out and you get Caleb Johnson and you have a nice little room of Caleb Johnson and Travion Henderson.
That works too.
Perfectly fine with it.
Yep.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you eat a lot of food watching that NFL draft tomorrow. And to play a little bit of a plug here, I will be at the LTB Let's Talk Broncos draft party tomorrow night over there on Smoky Hill Road. I think it's the Rock Restaurant. So please stop by, say hi. It'll be the Let's Talk Broncos people, a bunch of other Bronco podcasters, and myself will be there for the first round of the NFL draft. Obviously, I'll be, texting my boys, Brandon, Matty. Actually, I'll just say Matty and Jordan. I don't know if Brandon's going to respond. He lives under a rock, remember? But no, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I am really looking forward to it. It's gonna be a fun time. There's gonna be a lot of craziness that happens. Maybe some draft trades of players too. So it's gonna be fun. Thank you guys so much for watching and following along in this stream. And it is only fitting that we end it with one of the best memories of draft night, and that is.
Let's go Broncos! God bless Bo Nix!
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so